Hey, welcome back to Ramblings of an Old Man. So today we're going to talk about I'm offended and what this is doing to our country. You know, I grew up knowing that we had differences. Even in school, we had differences where we didn't all think alike. And something that somebody did may have bothered you or offended you. But you learn that either disregard them or be offended all day. And part of growing up and part of socialization in kindergarten and first grade is learning how not to be offended. Okay? You take a look at this country. This country is one of the greatest countries on this earth. All right? We have the best military, the best law enforcement, the best core creativity of workers, and the greatest people on this planet. Maybe I'm biased, but what I'm seeing is what I call the three percenters. And what are the three percenters? The three percenters are the ones that are constantly offended. They go out and look for things to be offended by. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of this is controlled, all right? I'm not any, off on left field and stuff. But everything from political parties to, influencers to businesses, everybody is doing things if you follow the money. Follow the money. Now, this mob mentality of becoming offended because somebody else is offended and then deciding to destroy the person that offended you is totally asinine. If I have offended you, I don't give a rat's ass. Get over it. If you don't like hanging around me, go. There's a lot of room on this earth to get away from me. I'm not asking you to be offended. See, if you really look at it, I haven't offended you because nobody can make you offended unless you feel that way. No one can make you feel sad unless you decide to feel that way. And no one's going to make you feel like shit unless you decide to feel like that. That is our choice, to be offended or not be offended. But getting back to the greatest place on earth, which is the USA. We went through this thing of the three percenters wanting to defund the police. We watched White on Black, where white cops killed a black kid, and it was the rage. Everybody was up in arms. They didn't tell about what the black kid had been doing or was doing. That wasn't the narrative. The media wanted to get you offended by the actions of that police officer. Now, I'm not saying we don't have bad police officers, but I'm telling you right now, they're a very small minority of the whole. But yet, you three percenters decided to try to defund the police because of it. But the last thing you wanted to talk about, as far as being offended with somebody killing somebody else, was all the black on black crime. Or the black officer having to shoot a black criminal. Because that didn't fit your narrative of trying to be offended or offending other people. And I'm hearing the same thing about the military, of how the younger generation, doesn't respect the police, doesn't respect the military. What you're not hearing is you are not the minority that are being offended. You are the small minority. I mean, you're such a minuscule. I'm calling you the 3%ers because that's basically what it is. You are a small part of the population. You are not special. And all you are doing is making yourself look more and more like an ass. And a very insecure ass at that. Have I offended you yet? I don't care. See, with this, if I offend you, you have two choices. You can either turn and go to a different YouTube channel and not be offended, or stay and just keep complaining about being offended. And then going to, let's say, YouTube people and saying, oh, this video deeply offended me. Where do you get off? I mean, you're the same person that doesn't want to go to work on a regular job. You want somebody to pay you to keep your ass to home. Or you want less work hours in the week and in the month, but more pay. You're the ones trying to tell your employer how to run their business instead of doing what the employer asks. I mean, why is it you have to keep going out and trying to find things that offend you? I mean, it's like the statues here a couple of years back. That bothered me. Of tearing down statues of people that had helped build this country. See, you became offended because this one represented being a slave owner. See, I believe we need to know what our history is so that we don't repeat it. And also it makes us better. And a lot of actions throughout the years made it so that we are all basically created equal now, right? We have equal rights. But a lot of you ones that are offended come from, middle to upper class. You're not inner city on the streets. You've pretty much had everything handed to you to this point. You probably got a free ride in college because of your parents. But yet you're offended. Do you hear that kid from the inner cities that they're selling dope and other drug, fentanyl and everything on the street corners around him or her, trying to go to school because people are shooting at each other? They would love to be in your position. But they're not offended. Only you. Donald Trump. That makes some people go right off the deep end. Why? If you don't like Donald Trump, that's fine. But it's your choice if you want to become offended. And when I say you follow the money, politicians are no different. Politicians have got their hands being lined by big business. Your big influencers are making money. They are telling you what they think you want to hear and what they're being told to tell you to get more money. The more followers they have, the more money they make. The more sponsoring of these big businesses, the more money they make. They're smart business people, but they're not people that should be leading this country because they're so full of shit. Like half our politicians. Are you offended yet? I don't care. Let's go to our military. One of the best militaries in the world. And then people weren't satisfied with the way the military was. And, with gay, lesbian, women, so forth. So they started dismantling it. making it a more friendlier military. Do you realize what our military is here for? It's to protect us. They can't be this, oh, I love you, and to the enemy, right? Because the enemy's shooting at them. You people that are offended, get out there. Get out there in the front lines and have your ass shot at. And then tell me what you think of the military. Because until you do, you have no say on our military. It's easy to sit on this side of the fence and spew your bullshit, but it's another to actually understand it. See, that's the biggest thing is you guys that are offended, you don't want to understand it. You don't want to see the other side of it. Only your side. And to a certain point, I honestly feel sorry for you if you're offended. Because that's a choice. Nobody twisted your arm to become offended. I grew up when it was live and let live. If somebody offended you or you didn't agree with what they were doing, stay away from them. Don't go whining to mama. What I'm trying to tell you is you got it made. You ones that are in college that are doing all this protesting right now, you have it made. You don't have anything on your plate like where you're getting your next meal, where are you sleeping tonight? Are there bombs coming down on top of your town? Because that's what's happening in Israel. They're being hammered with incoming bombs and missiles. And it's a regular basis, you know. Sirens going off, everybody getting into their places to get away from the bomb shelters and stuff. But you're offended. But yet you don't have no skin in the game. Do you? I personally think at this point in time, for all you offended people, you should all be rounded up and then stuck somewhere where if you're offended by how Israel is treating Hamas, then you should be put either on Israel's turf or Palestinians' turf. So that you have skin in the game. And then you can decide if you still want to be offended or if you'd rather find a bomb shelter when the missiles are coming in. You cry now that, you know, there's too much crime. You demoralized the police. 3% of you managed to accomplish that. We had the biggest exodus of law enforcement over the past 5-6 years. Early retirements, changing job descriptions. Why? Because they didn't feel like they were respected. They joined most of these individuals. They joined because they wanted to help people in need. And they a lot of times were putting their life on the line on a regular basis. But yet when you start telling them that they're a piece of shit, a worthless piece of shit, and how they're all corrupt, and show on TV every little thing that fits your narrative, you created this. If you live in any of these major cities where crime is out of control, that's on you. Because a lot of our best officers are no longer there. They left to pursue other careers that they felt valued. So if you want to cry about crime and stuff in the cities, that's on you. To you guys that out there that left law enforcement, don't listen to these 3%. To you people that are in the military that are doing outstanding work, don't listen to these 3%. If you're home watching YouTube or these shorts or this or that, and you have influencers telling you certain things, fact check them. Because I can guarantee you with a lot of these influencers, with a lot of followers, they have a lot of people that have money that are trying to use them as a pawn to get something that they want across the finish line. Period. Now, hopefully this hasn't offended my regulars. But if it does, I apologize, But it's your choice to become offended. If you want to be a snowflake, be a snowflake. It's your choice, not mine. But I'm not done yet. I know, you guys are like, this is just my little rant. I mean, this has been building for a while because I've been watching how a small part of our population is dictating what goes on for the rest of us. And the rest of us have kind of been live and let live, right? And, well, it doesn't affect me, so blah, blah, blah. But I think it's about time for the rest of us to step up and say, this is enough bullshit out of you whiners, you 3%ers, and if you don't like it, leave. How about all those friggin' actresses that said that if Donald Trump got elected, they were going to leave the country and go to Canada? How many went to Canada? 0. But they were offended by this man. And they spent 4 years trying to concoct stories and theories and everything else to fit their narrative to tell you that this man was in bed with the Russians. When in fact, we had the wrong president that was embedded with the Russians. But it didn't fit the narrative of the Democratic Party, of the influencers, and of big business. See, business should never get involved in bullshit like this. All right? Transgenders and all that. Again, most of us are live and let live. But you as a transgender have no right to tell the rest of us population how we should live. Is that fair or does that offend you? What happened to Bud Light? Bud Light decided to stick a transgender on their beer that was well known for... Why would you do that? Why would you try to make a statement like that? Disney did the same thing. Disney stood up. And what happened? None of these businesses learned that they can't use that 3% to elevate their brand. Because 97% of the people are watching, and if you offend them, like you did, they'll walk. They'll walk another direction. That's why I've always said in business, you don't tell your political views and you don't get involved in sides. Because in business, you're going to alienate either one part or the other. It's your choice. In business, you want all the customers, right? Not just the select few. And you corporations are figuring that out. Now, when it comes to the school boards, with the school teachers and what are they teaching our kids? It's not history. It's not reading, writing, and arithmetic. What are we teaching? We're teaching that white kids are the oppressors and black and Spanish and, et cetera, are the oppressed, the victim. See, when I was growing up, I was a military brat. And the military is a melting pot of everybody, but everybody pulls together as one. They're all equal. They got each other's back. But when I went to school, there were just as many black, Hispanic, as there were white kids. But we didn't see color. We didn't see any of this bullshit that these adult offended people are bringing to the table. Saw none of it. This is something that is being taught. And it needs to stop. We need to demand at this point that our teachers start teaching the basics. You're ruining a whole segment of the population by doing what you're doing. It does. It bothers me that, this small percentage is able to get all this crap done that goes against everything I think of and believe in. Because we sat back and just live and let live. And I think it's about time for the 97%ers to start calling it what it is and speaking out and saying this is bullshit. This is crap. I want my child to know history so that we don't repeat it again. I want my child to know the real history and what happened with the Jews during Hitler's time and how American soldiers went in and freed the remaining ones and the horror that they saw. He convinced his whole country that Jews were the bottom of the barrel and had to be killed off. So just give that some thought. There's bigger things in the world, and if you're one of the 3%ers that's constantly looking for something to offend you, I'm sure this has offended you. But it's time for you to get out in the real world and sink or swim on your own merits. Right? On that note, there's something to ponder or be offended. I don't give a rat's ass. All right.